So I saw your message. I figured I'd just send you a video like this that I've done for a few kids now who have been asking about stuff. So, generally speaking, when we look at stance, I'm going to break down everything. Your stance is like a 50-50 even position. It's relatively athletic, right? And it's going to allow you to land into, or it should allow you, I should say, to land into a very similar position that's more athletic with a wider base or slightly wider base, right? Now, that's not exactly what transpires, but we'll get to that when that comes up. So from here, what you're supposed to do is, some people will have a negative move and bring their knee back this way. Some guys will just straight stride forward into their launch position, right? Or like where your foot lands, foot strike landing position, whatever term you want to use. Launch position is the correct term at the highest level. So from there, if you are a guy that has your stride foot just go forward, right? You want to have your hands go back in relation to the stride foot. So as this goes forward, this goes back. Now, if you're somebody who has a negative move with their leg and they move this foot back this way before they go this way, you don't move your hands back until the foot starts moving forward. And again, they have to be synchronized. So hands and stride need to be in sync with each other so the hands end up where they're supposed to be by the time the foot hits the ground. That is the most efficient way of getting into the athletic position you want to be in at the right time. All right, so let me play it forward so you can see what I'm saying. All right, so for you, right, you have a slight negative move. Hands shouldn't be moving back until this point. So like your trigger's pretty good, right? You see how your hands start to come back as your foot goes forward. The problem, which I've been trying to tell you for a little bit now, is see how the hands go down and the elbow goes down before your foot lands. You need to make sure that your hands stay up and your elbow moves back into like your back lat muscle here. So that way the hands stay above the strike zone into launch. And then from there, once you land, we will see this move that you have go, where the elbow comes down to the hip and the barrel comes behind the shoulder, and then you use the barrel as a whip. See how the barrel here is behind the body? It's going to follow the rotational energy that's transferred through your shoulders, and again, create a whip-like effect. That's how you maximize bat speed. So overall, when we're talking about like the upper half, which was your question when you messaged me, like you have the muscle memory already to do the right move. The problem isn't that, hey, is this how my swing's supposed to look? The problem is hey, am I landing in the right spot so when my muscle memory triggers in and my bat path naturally moves into the spots it's supposed to, am I capable of getting to those spots? Am I like, or am I moving too early, right? And in this case, you see you're making the right moves, but you're moving too early. Now, if we're talking about the lower half, you can kind of see how you're very front foot dominant, and that has a lot to do with the fact that you're landing heavy on your front side. So when we stride forward, when we're talking lower half mechanics, we want to feel this hip like rotated back and then with sink pressure into the ground. So we're maintaining, you kind of have it here, right? But the key is the front foot has to be soft so that way you don't lose the tension in the coil on the backside. And when the front side gets lungy or you're moving too aggressively forward, you end up getting into this position where, see how the back leg gets really, really long? And then the hip starts to like uncoil early because of the disconnection and disassociation you're creating through the stride and the energy you're transferring. So this is the position you're landing in. So where you really want to land, much to the point in the beginning, right, is you start in this really, really good triangular position. And what you want to do is all you want to do is sink into the ground, right? When you start to stride forward, coil this hip backwards and land in just a wider, more or a larger width base than you are. That's it. But you still want to be in a triangle. So your head's going to move a little bit forward and it's going to be like this. So you're going to sit into your legs, but you still want to be in this triangle, and that's going to allow you to be in a 50-50 position. So, again, to review really, really quick, the hands need to work in relation to the stride leg, right? Until the stride leg moves forward, the hand shouldn't come back. You do a pretty good job at that, we saw. The issue that you have is when you do bring your hands back, you drop everything this way too early, as opposed to landing in the proper position with your hands more up. So a lot of coaches will talk about like keeping your hands above water. So when they say that, they're talking about above shoulder level. So if you keep your hands above water into landing, your muscle memory, according to this film, and I'll show you it again, shows me that you have the right movement patterns post landing. The problem is you're starting them too early in the swing. You're starting them well before you land. And then again, our goal is to, how do we go from this position? See, and you do this part pretty well, but you overstride, and like the energy you're transferring forward is very lungy. See how that's like lungy there? It's not bad. You transfer the energy. If you look at the back foot, you kind of got a scissor kick going where it goes towards the net behind you, which isn't a bad thing. It's common in hitters. Keeps your hips closed so you can stay middle of the field to right center. But you, again, little lungy, hands need to stay above water into landing, and then once you get into a position where like, because if you landed in like this position, it's like perfect, it's fine. Like you want bottom down in this triangular position here, right? Or I should have like drew it a little bit better, but whatever. And then see how the hands are still at shoulder height, so they're above water, right? So you got the triangle, which is showing us the balance. I drew the line at the hip to show you that you're like sitting in your legs, and then you can see that your hands and your elbow above water still. But the problem, again, to finalize this video, is when you go to land, the hands are already starting to work down just before you land. So it's a timing thing. So you need to make sure that the hands are getting into this loaded position as the foot hits the ground, as opposed to getting to that point early and then triggering the swing slightly early.